Hello, King Abdullah here. So I have been preparing for the commercial pilot written exams, the Canadian, and I've realized that there's not enough material. In fact, there's zero to none. That's the same. There's not enough material on the preparation of the commercial pilot written exams, the Canadian transport. And as a result, I've endeavored to make sure that I contribute my quota, and this makes the journey a little bit easy for anyone that's about to try it. And so, as you may know, it's divided into 4 sections, just as the private pilot commercial written exams, the air law, the MET, the general knowledge, and the navigation. And what people most find difficult is the navigation, which is a little bit difficult because you will have to start using the low chart. And for most of us, including myself, it was a new map. And although I did it in the commercial pilot ground school, it still gave me trouble trying to understand it. But what you will realize is it's much easier. And by the way, that's my card. It wants to be part of the video, which is okay. And so, how long does it take to prepare for these exams? Well, first of all, I will advise, if you are doing your training, in Canada, it is advisable to do these ground school items and these exams during the months of winter, because you are not likely to fly as much as in other seasons during the winter. So it's always advisable to do the written exams and do the ground school during that time of the year. And in my case, that's exactly what I did. Use the winter months to prepare for these exams. And also you will realize that this material, the commercial pilot preparation, as you prepare for the exams and you take a break about a week, when you come back, it's like you will have to start everything all over again. This happened to me over and over. I prepared for the material, I thought I was ready, and I took a break, and when I got back, I have to start all over again because the material is just too much. And in my case, the preparation included reading books from Michael Collins. He's got a very good series, albeit a little expensive on the pricey side, but nothing is expensive when it's going towards your future. The Sharper Edge 2, I really like the book principally because at the end of every section, first of all, it's exam focused. It can really help you. It has key points that can help you study exactly for the exam, exactly what you need. And at the end of each section, with the air law, with the nav, with the MET, it has 150 questions at the end of every question. I revised all of this, and you will find that the way they set these questions, and in the TC, they have some similarities. And with the case of the Michael Collins, it contains all the material you will need. In fact, sometimes I feel it has more than you need. But when preparing for these exams, you have to go with all you can. You don't just prepare halfway or think you're half-baked and go for these exams. You might surprise yourself, and that's the last thing you want. And with regards to weather, the Royal Canadian Air Force weather manual, it's been really helpful. I borrowed this from my school, but it's really helpful. So I thought preparing for the private pilot written exams was difficult because the material was new to me. The air law, the general knowledge, the navigation, and the MET, all the material was new, and I thought it was difficult because it was basically building a foundation. But if you are anywhere around doing your private pilot written exams, I will advise you retain the information, because most of what you will be doing in the CPL, it's a revision. And if you really revise and really have a good grip on the private pilot written material, the CPL material is going to be really light work. Well, not very light, because I can tell you that if you ask most people, they will tell you that they might have back pains preparing for these exams because it will take so many hours of reading and just sitting there. And no sooner you feel ready, and not 100% ready, because I've spoke to most people and they all have one thing in common. You will never reach to a point where you say that I am 100% sure that I'm going to make the 90s. Of course, I've seen 1 or 2 people who've made really good grades. But to reach to a point where you say I'm going to make that 100% mark, you are never going to, because there's more material out there. It's aviation. There's always more than you know. And as you reach, sometimes you have a little bit diversion. You read an interesting concept, you go on YouTube to research it, and there you go. And talking about the materials that you need for the preparation of these exams, as well as the Colhens and the Sharper Edge, Halves Air, I've heard it's really good. The online material, I've heard it's really good. In fact, a couple of people that I know use their material and they did the exams and they passed, which was really good. And so the purpose of this video is to make sure that I go in depth with regards air law, with regards MET, with regards NAV and GEN. I want to treat each subject individually and tell you the things that would really help, like must know, need to know items. Because I personally struggle a little bit preparing for these exams because I really didn't know what I needed to prepare for these exams, and I was all over the place. I would read anything I can lay my fingers on. And in some way it was good because it opened my horizon in general aviation, but also the diversion from the exam preparation in a way caused me to use more time to prepare for these exams. And of course, there are some materials out there that are just unnecessarily difficult for you to understand. But I will tell you this, always use YouTube to your advantage. There are concepts like, I personally struggled when I had to calculate true altitude. As easy as it is, you know, I find different ways of calculating the same thing, and most of them didn't help. I mean, I even used this to calculate true altitude and even press altitude. When I calculate press altitude here on my CX3 and when I calculate it just on a regular scientific calculator, sometimes I will have little bit differences, and as I read in one article, they are due to compression errors. But my advice mainly would be to make use of your E6B. You will have calculations that you will be using. Use the E6B because it mostly, I think they program all the answers with the help of this. Because sometimes I use this and it just throws me off. And now I have nothing against this. It's really good. It saved me a lot of time. But I'm just saying you can always use this to verify your answer. This will give you the direct numbers, and sometimes the answers are just approximate values. And so you should be able to use a little bit mathematics to help. Now, to start this examination, what I first did is I bought a notebook, a small one. Now I bought a notebook, a small one, and what I did is as I read through topics, there are key points that you need to remember. You just jot them down, write them down somewhere so you can remember them later. It's really helpful. You cannot afford to just keep reading and not write some things down. In fact, studies have shown that the more you write things down, the more you are likely to remember. I didn't have only one of this. I have about 2 to 3 of them that I just write stuff down, but this one is more mobile, it's pocket. So I use this as my key point. In fact, I remember using one of these in my private pilot flight test. I had one of these that I've just been writing whatever that I need to, and remembering stuff was quite easy. Now this you see here is the Canadian Flight Supplement. You are not going to need this only for your written exams. In fact, maybe 1 question or 2 will come from these stops, nothing more, or in my case, nothing at all. But this is really handy. You are going to need to understand this. From the planning section, the general section to the planning section, you know, just going over this and understand how to use it is more important. You do not have to memorize anything here. Just understand how to use the material. They might take an extract from this and put it in your appendix, and if need be, you're going to go over it. So understand how to use your CFS. They might ask you a question like, what kind of lighting is in aerodrome X? Now you'll have to go using go to that airport and look at the type of lighting system, whether it's type K or type J, and how to operate such a lighting system. So this is going to be very useful. I advise you spend some time knowing how to understand it. There's nothing to memorize here. And coming back to the Michael Colhen, a very good friend of mine brought me this, which is really helpful because there are 2 versions. One just includes reading the material needed, no questions at all, just read the topics that you need. They are all in here. The general knowledge, the air law. Like I said, reading this will need you to have a foundation. The reading you did in your private pilot written exams, it's going to be really helpful because you understand that they don't go through some of the concepts trying to break them down. They assume that you have a general understanding of some of these concepts. So this is a build-up of what you already know, assuming that you've read some of his materials in preparation for your private written exams. And this big text you see here, of course, I have my notes. I had to download answer sheets and use them in relation with this. It has about 14 exam sets. Each of these exams is 100 questions, 25 questions per section. Now, the TC exam might be a little bit different, or it is different, because in this material I read, I was answering 25 questions, 25 and 25. And in the TC exams, you need 60%. So that means out of every 25 questions, if you're able to answer 15 correctly, you pass the exams. But in the TC exams, it's not like that. They might give you 25 questions on air law, or 30 questions on air law, 22 questions on math, 20 questions on general knowledge. So it's not uniformly distributed like 25, no. In the TC exams, they adjust it. You might find more questions on air law and general knowledge than math and navigation. I think there are 22 questions if I remember right. But in this book, they make 25 each, uniformly distributed. But if you're going to answer all these 14 sets and constantly score 80, I guarantee you're going to make a good grade, because it's a little difficult. There are times that I thought I was ready and I touched this material, and what happens is it takes away 30% of my confidence. Now that wasn't a good feeling. But generally, it's a good material. I will encourage, if you can, read it, take your time and read it. If you want something really quick, fast track, I'm in love with this material. I'm really in love with this material because, like I said, it's strictly exam focused. They're not busy telling you stuff you don't need to know. They just go direct to the point, because in actual sense, if you go to the transport website, then you can print out the syllabus. You see on the methodology here, you can print out the syllabus, what you need to know exactly for the specific sections. You can print out the syllabus and get a highlighter, and as you read, highlight what you read and what you understand, and then that way you can cover the entire syllabus. So using the TC syllabus, you can know what books have the stuff that you need, and like I said, each book have their own strength as well. Like I really enjoy studying math here. It's really self-explanatory. In air law as well, they use diagrams that really help. So if you are starting to read, I would advise this is a very first good read. Read the material over and over if you can. Answer all the questions you can. It's going to be really handy. And now just going to the library. This is a book that I got from the library, The Complete Private Pilot. Now I won't read much of this. This was just something on the side. I think I will read this more now that I'm done with my exams. This is really good read. But when it comes to weather in general, this really helped me. I borrowed this from my school, like I said, Royal Canadian Air Force Weather Manual. It's really good. Although it was a little bit complicated to me at first because I couldn't understand most of what they're talking about. Now, reason being, weather theory, it's a bunch of theories and systems that you need to understand. This book will start everything from the scratch and then build up on the material one by one, which is really good. If you have time in your hands, I would really suggest getting this and then reading it. Now, do not rush, because there are things you are not going to understand, which is okay. Pause, go to YouTube, research it, go to YouTube and go to Google, wherever you can find the information, or find someone who has better idea, and I mean, they can always help you out. And as far as weather is concerned, I always make it a point of duty, after I go through the TAFs, through the GFAs, and all these materials that I have at the Aviation Weather Services, I have my understanding. I will usually call 1866 WX brief and ask a briefer what they thought about the weather, and they will give me their own professional opinion, and in most cases sometimes it confirms what I thought was the picture, and other times I am off. It happens. But like I said, what I'm going to do in these videos is I'm going to make more videos, ones that target air law only, met only, nav only, and gen only, and some of the materials, because they are online, there are resources online. In fact, I've stumbled over a website, I think it's a flight school. They just take all the the exam reports of their students and the places that they didn't make, like recall the weather minimum for a VFR flight, like recognize the serviceability of an NDB. They take all those reports and compile it and ask their students to read this compilation, make sure that they understand everything highlighted before they go for the exams. And I feel this is really good, helpful resources, because guess what? When I went to do the exams, I found some of these there, and I will show you my report in later videos and cross-check it against some of these helpful guides that they give out there. So yeah, I will be covering each and every topic: air law, met, general knowledge and navigation. And like I said, the navigation, I will go in depth as well, because it doesn't only include the VNC, it includes the low chart as well, use of E6Bs and using the CX3. I plan to go on all this material. As I realize there's not enough of this out there, I will make endeavors to make sure that I put the material out there. And if you do have any question, you can just highlight your question to the comment box. I would like to help you to score the best grade or score a grade that I didn't score in my commercial pilot written exams. So until the next video, I'd advise you just keep reading, read everything you have your hands on. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.